All right, welcome back to the Steven Dukubas podcast. I am super excited that you're here. Today, this episode, this is a different setting. And also, I have a guest today. Today, I'm talking with Jiten. Jiten,
Jiten
I'm
Studio.
excited you're here. Jiten Studio.
Likewise, yes. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Today, we're going to talk about your experience with the HighEnd Click,
Mm-hmm.
my coaching experience, coaching program for wedding photographers. You're one of the first group of photographers that
Lab
joined.
rats.
Yeah. And I
That's
wanted to talk about your experience. How did it go? But before we get there, let's talk about you. Introduce
Love
yourself.
talking about me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And tell me a little bit about you and how did you start with wedding photography?
Okay. So who I am as a person. My name is Jiten Melwani. G10 for people that can't pronounce Jiten.
Not G6.
Oh, not G6, not G9, not G11, and not G69 for a shark out there. So I am born and raised in Aruba. My heritage is Indian. I've lived here. I was born and raised here until I was 12. I moved to London when I was 12. I lived there for 12 years as well. And I moved back to Aruba around about 2.5 years ago, coming up to 3. So I went to London for education. I was in London working as well towards the end of my life in London. And I worked as a personal trainer first for 2 years. And then that was like between COVID as well. And during that time, I kind of discovered my love for being an entrepreneur and earning my own money, as well as my love for photography. Now, photography goes way back to the points when, as a family, we traveled the world together, go on cruises, and my aunt always had a camera with her. She was a photographer as well, not professionally, but she always had that hobby and that interest. And I would always remember taking that camera. So a lot of the family photos I have from back then, I'm not in. I'm the one taking them. And I since then, I basically had a passion for taking photos, being creative. And I feel like everyone has some sort of creative outlet, and that was mine, even though I didn't know it at the time. And I have always also been one to, post on Instagram, and I love sharing things that are creative and myself and, connecting with people. So all these traits, I think, as growing up, I think have led me to photography, and photography of weddings as well, which has been kind of putting everything together and an accumulation of all these things that I've learned over the years. It led on to, whilst I was personal training, I was working as kind of a creative at that time with my camera. I was using it to help brand myself and post and create videos.
As a personal trainer?
As a personal trainer at this point, yeah. And I also used it to be creative when I traveled, because I would, use the small money that I earned. I would travel and try and explore the world, which is one of my passions as well. And from there, I plateaued kind of with personal training. I think I learned what there was to learn. And after that, it would have just been plateauing and, not progressing and not growing too much. So I came back to Aruba. So I got kind of a little bit bored of the personal trainer life, and I knew something was next. So I came back to Aruba, and I wanted to I had the plan to actually get into real estate, but some photography just like blew up from there. I started posting more, taking more photos, and then I found the love for, tourists started seeing my work. And this was, started from like just posting on Instagram and posting paid advertisements on Instagram. And from there, then tourists started seeing my work. And then I slowly created a very basic website. Looking back now, it was rubbish, but it is what it is. It was what it was, and it worked. And I started getting more bookings with tourists. And then, you never expected, but then the first wedding comes along second. I actually did a wedding in England before coming to Aruba. So it wasn't...
was that your first wedding?
That was my first wedding in England. Yeah.
Okay.
That wedding, it was 9 hours. And I think in dollars, I made about $600 for 9 hours. Yeah. And so that was my first wedding, and it was great, nice experience. And then I came to Aruba knowing that it wasn't something, or knowing that I liked it, and also knowing I wasn't a super newbie into it. And then Yeah, the word just spread here. Aruba's small island, so word spreads through locals as well as tourists and through my family's business. You know, my dad's customers would come in looking for photographers, or I would kind of, again, I like to talk to people. So every time I talk to someone, I would always mention it. You know, slide in the fact that I'm a photographer. And everyone likes photos in Aruba. Everyone likes knowing or having the memories. And then from there, I've just been for the last year and a half, I would say, a professional photographer here in Aruba. I have been doing a lot of family photo shoots, couples photo shoots, and weddings.
Did you know you wanted to make it a business, or was it at the beginning just like a hobby?
It was just a hobby for sure. Yeah. I never understood the business. I never thought it was a very profitable business in my eyes. And I never expected it to be wedding photography. I'd always, when I started into photography and I was watching YouTube videos like Peter McKinnon and all these famous people, and Peter himself was a wedding photographer. I remember him saying one time in one of his YouTube videos that he didn't like it because of the stress and he would never go back, and he's glad that chapter's over. And instantly, as a new photographer, that put me off. So I was like, you know, why would I ever do that? I'd rather be creative and do what I love, which is also, I do love weddings, but it's also, I like to do the travel photography and other things like that. To be creative, that's how it started. But yeah, and then I stumbled upon wedding photography, and I think Aruba's one of the best places in the world to do it. I've now experienced it other places. I've done a few weddings in London. I've done many, many weddings in Aruba. And for the last year and a half, I've been a professional photographer. So I have been traveling the world, taking my camera everywhere I go, very heavy, and all my gear and all my, you know, my camera bags, and you know the drill. So yeah, it's been fun, and wedding photography is definitely fun, and you know, I think you can make it. Obviously, I heard it was bad from someone else's perspective, but for myself, I've realized that it's in my style and the person I am is the way I kind of design my business, and it's been fun. I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Nice. And how? Because I feel like I've known you for I don't know, a
few years. We've known of each other for a long time, and only recently, like, properly talking.
Exactly. Yeah. So how did you hear about the HighEnd Click?
Purely through your Instagram.
Okay.
In the beginning, because I know you were doing personal branding before that, and courses to do with Instagram and everything. Yeah. And it was never really my intention to build an Instagram business, so I never really paid attention until I think the timing of the HighEnd Click plus my career as a photographer kind of was like almost perfect, I would say, because I started seeing posts from your page about the HighEnd Click, and then at the same time I was not struggling, but I was very new to building my wedding photography business. And I knew that, and you've been in as a wedding photographer, I think you've been in the game for 7-8 years. So
10,
okay, 10 years.
Almost 11. Yeah.
So I knew that, and I've always been one to buy courses from more experienced people, because I know there's, regardless of the price of the course, as long as it's not like 20, 30K in my position, in like a position where you're starting out, obviously that's not really conceivable because you don't know what you're buying and stuff. But when you think, you know, what the business is, what kind of revenue you can expect to make, the course can be paid off in a day. Yeah. Sometimes a couple of hours of work. And I know that that's always worth it, because if 90% of the course you know, or 99% of the course, there has to be 1% that you don't know that can help you not make a mistake that may cost you even more than the price of the course. Yeah. And in all the courses I've done in the past, that's been the case. Kind of in the background of my education, I'm a university dropout, so it wasn't for me. And from that, I knew that, especially in this day and age, you don't need a degree unless, I feel personally, you don't need a degree unless you're becoming a doctor, lawyer, engineer. That's my firm belief. And then you can learn everything with courses, with YouTube. Like photography for me is fully self-taught. Everyone is surprised when I say that, but YouTube is, it's, you know, it's a degree in itself. Yeah. As long as you treat it right. So you can learn a lot. And I've always been a fan of courses and learning, again, from people that have done it before. And learning from their mistakes, so I don't make those mistakes myself. Yeah, nice. I love that you said you were at the beginning and there were a couple of things that you were struggling with, or let's call it challenges. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, what were the things that, because
what I want to also showcase is like there's a difference between being a really good photographer, meaning the creative part, the artistic part, taking photos, knowing the lens, knowing the camera, lighting, composition, all the things. But then there's the other part, which is the business part. So can you talk about where were you when before joining the course, and what were the things like you were struggling with or were a challenge for you? And how did the course help you with that?
Okay, so before the course, if I remember correctly, I was definitely struggling with getting more wedding bookings. At the point of the course kind of being at the forefront of my mind and like kind of signing up to the course, I knew that wedding photography, I knew the potential of it, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do and get into. And I had done a handful of weddings previously prior to the course. So I had some experience. Challenges wise, I would always receive inquiries. I wouldn't know kind of the market in terms of where I should price myself. I didn't know, let me think. And looking back now, at the time I didn't realize this. Looking back now, I know that I didn't know who I was as a photographer and what I wanted my business to be and what I wanted my business to portray to my clients. That and then other struggles, I would say. I was at the point I didn't have anything set up, like systems set up. So I was doing everything manually. I handled all my emails manually, all my inquiries manually. And when you're getting weddings is one thing, like, cause that's a big booking with one client. But as I think to grow, and the volume in Aruba at least is in photo shoots, like little photo shoots.
Yeah.
I think that's how anyone in this industry starts. And so I was getting those nonstop. I've always been a people's person. So I'm always, very chatty. And I think as a photographer, especially in this business, you need to be a people's person as well as a skilled photographer. So that skilled photography is like on the side because that's been the case for a long time for myself. And to be a people's person, then I ended up the word about my business started to spread, but in terms of photo shoots. So I realized that, I can't continue doing this because all my time was spent. I would spend 3-4 hours a day on just replying to inquiries, those of which I wouldn't even know would be turned into a sales or photo shoots at the end of the day. And, those were kind of pennies in the big piggy bank of weddings.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time doing that. And then that was a struggle. So I found myself not really having time to be by myself or spend time with family and friends and socialize. So
I think that's one of the things that I hear a lot, that you get so busy within the business, and a lot of photographers, and I can take it myself as an example. When I first started photography, I was like, I just want to share my art with the world.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I love taking photos. And I remember at the beginning, I was taking photos of like graffiti or
anything.
Anything in front of me. But they got to a point that, photography is a really expensive hobby. The cameras are not cheap at all. And if you wanted to make money out of it, even if it's like to pay back your investment, you need to know the business part of it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the biggest struggles that a lot of photographers face, is that they're really good at being creative, but not really good at being a business owner.
And there's a lot of photographers that are a lot more creative than I. Like I see their work, I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I wish in that moment I had that vision, or, I could maybe edit that video like that, or, do those things. But then I also think like, I don't know how they're doing business-wise, but I know how I'm doing, and I know that I'm doing the best I can, and it's growing, because there is two sides of it.
I love that you said that. Would you agree that let me put it this way, you don't have to be the most creative out there in order to have a profitable business?
I've seen photographers where, and everyone has their own editing style, their own shooting style.
That's subjective, right?
Yeah, very subjective.
Yeah.
And maybe if I had to hire someone to cover my wedding one day, I wouldn't hire the person that I'm looking at. Say, for example, I'm looking at person X. I wouldn't hire them, but they're getting a lot of bookings, and I just don't think the photography is my style. I don't think it's of a high quality, but their business is killing it. Because people see it. Maybe they love who they are as a person, because they realize that the photographer, as who you are as a person, is important, especially for wedding photography, because that's the person that you're going to spend the whole day with.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like making a sale. You have to be a salesman as well. You have to wear a lot of hats. So
Yeah.
it's not just being.
Let's go there. I want to go there, which is the personal branding piece. And I believe what you just said is that as a photographer, you are at one of the most important days of someone's life. You definitely want to spend it. I'm talking to the bride or the groom right now. You definitely want to spend it with someone that you enjoy being around, that that you trust, that it's fun to be around. Would you say the course helped you with the personal branding piece, or can you talk a little bit more about that piece?
Yeah. So in the first couple of modules, the course was the first one is
Yeah, the first
branding.
one is personal branding. Yep.
So the first one is personal branding. Now, again, I had in my website an about me page because that's what everyone does. I didn't know what to put there. I looking back now, I realized that what I had there was so much BS, excuse my French. It was true, but it was nothing that a client would want to read or hear. It was kind of like, okay, hi, my name is Jiten. I'm from this. I grew up
Or like a
here.
biography.
It was a biography, basically.
Or something you put on Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia. and I wasn't talking to my customer. So from the first module and the second, where I think customer avatar is somewhere between those two. So figuring out, and the course helped me a lot in this, figuring out who my customer is that I want to reach, and then what I have to say to kind of speak their language, because they're not looking to read about your life story. They're just looking to read about who you are, of course, kind of your voice, your tone in those words. And I think now my biography and my website kind of, or my about me page tells a customer what they're going to get from me and who they can expect on that wedding day, as well as the process of the whole booking process and getting towards that day, as opposed to just so many irrelevant things of my past and who I am as a person. And, that's not important. So, and I think if I were a customer and I read someone's biography and it said like, okay, my favorite thing to eat is pizza, I'm like, I don't care. Just take pictures at my wedding. And that's not going to tell me anything about you. So now my biography, and from the course, and obviously me and you have spoken about that through the live Zoom calls. And we went through, word by word kind of the about me parts that we're writing. And from that, I've derived kind of a perfect paragraph, like the elevator pitch. That's something that stuck with me for a long time. Being able to describe yourself and your business, because you are your business. So to describe all that and encompass all that in 1 or 2 paragraphs was very important. And I use that in all my websites, even Instagram posts. I'll do it like every 2 months. I'll just repost a picture of me, and that same paragraph gets a lot of traction because people want to know more about you. And even if it's not clients or customers, it's family and friends, and they're like, a lot of my family and friends, because they don't see me much anymore because I'm working. So they always are like, Jiten, I see all your posts, and then I post something like that, and they love it because they can read about me, about why I love what I do, about what I can deliver on a wedding day, and so it's super important to have kind of an about me page, and I have it now on the first page of my website. You land on the website, you see my face, and you land on the weddings page, you see my face. So it is the business is based now off of me more than it was before. Before it was more photography, like you'd see my pictures first of what I've taken behind the camera, but now it's me in front of the camera. So big difference.
I love that. Would you say that also help you position yourself more, let's say, higher in the market, and also like help you stand out from the competition out there?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of not even just in Aruba, in the whole world, a lot of people, a lot of photography businesses are exactly that, photography businesses. They're not photographers. You look at it, okay, if I open a website, a random website, I'm looking at a photography business, I don't know who's taking the picture. And when it comes to weddings, like if that was someone I wanted to hire to make a commercial for my brand, I don't care. Your work is great and I trust you. Okay, awesome. But if it's someone I want to hire to be with all my friends and family, and I need to know who that is. And to this day, there's still a lot of photography pages I've been following that I don't even know who the photographer is. For years and I'm like, who are these people? So, being the forefront of your business and your face everywhere, it has its pros and cons. you are then liable for everything of the business. Like there's no hiding behind any facades of who is the owner or who do I blame for something. So as long as you can handle all that, it is pressure and that responsibility.
Yeah.
But the pros are that you can obviously market yourself higher in the competition. You can be more, or you can talk to your customers in a more direct way. You don't need to, like if I post a reel, I can talk in the camera. I don't need to post a reel of behind the scenes of something and maybe text and have like the TikTok voice be the person talking.
Yeah.
So I can kind of just say stuff in the camera and then post it straight away.
Yeah.
So there's that, and there's confidence. When you come to a photo shoot, people don't need to be like, oh, that's what you look like. Oh, I thought somebody else, or So there's all that, and it helps to convey. And even through emails, I get like my communication with my clients. They know who they're talking to, and instantly that's one step ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say that also helps you with the connection with the client?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like when we do Zoom calls, like the consultation call for a wedding. Again, they know who to look for and who they're talking to because they've seen my face, they've read my About Me page, and they do their research, they do their due diligence before they even book a call with a photographer. So they've done all that. It helps me in the beginning, and then I would say it helps me throughout the whole process just because they know who they're talking to before they even talk to me. So regardless of even my website, they've seen my Instagram, and that's where I kind of speak out more. And if you just scroll through, you can kind of see how I handle a wedding, how I handle groups, who I am. And
I think that's one of the things that because I stalk all of my students.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's one of the things that I really like about you as well. And I see that you've started doing more often as well, also on stories, which is showing who you are.
Yeah.
And also we can hear your voice, we can see your face, we can see you behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I think lastly, you even hire someone to go do behind the scenes for you in the wedding.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that personally has also helped me. And that's what I wanted to teach as well. That's what I wanted to convey with all the students that, hey, you can take great photos, but so can everyone else. You just watch a couple of tutorials on YouTube.
People can do it better than you, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So what is going to help you stand out is you.
Yeah.
And this one of the things that I live by is that building a personal brand is what is going to help you increase your perceived value. Because at the end of the day, I can take some ways about you, and another photographer can take up some. They have an opinion. Everyone has an opinion about each other. But it's not about the other photographer's opinion. It's about what your clients think about you.
Correct.
And then that's also where that piece of the module number 2 connects with everything that goes afterwards. Module number 3, talking about pricing. Module number 4, the luxury experience. 5, social media. And 6, your website.
Yeah.
And they all are connected with each other, which will help you put yourself, the person behind that camera, in front. It's like, this is the guy behind the camera. This is what we're doing. And they connect with you. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen you're doing it really, really well. So really props to you.
Yeah.
You're killing it. I love it. And you're also one of the students that like you show up to the call, you come with your question, you listen what they say, and then boys, you go and you do it, you execute.
I try and get my value for money.
Yeah, exactly.
Try and get the bang for my buck. Yeah.
Do you think, tell me about that. Like, did you get your value out of your money?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think, again, I have a history in not studying, but in experience and with business and kind of what I want from business, how to market myself. Because as a personal trainer, that's also, I was my brand as a personal trainer. So I have that experience in the past. So there were for sure parts of the course that I already knew. But the parts that I didn't know or that I was working on, again, it saves me a lot of time of trial and error when it's written in black and white in front of me. And then if I don't get it, I just ask you and I get it in seconds. And then it's so much faster. Like the whole period of maybe 2 months of doing the course, that whole period, I was literally in my room, in my office. That whole period, I didn't even have an office. I started the course without an office. During that time, I was able to build an office. I got a space where I can work and focus. And I was there nonstop, and I was rebuilding. I literally rebuilt my whole business from the ground up. I was actually midway through redesigning a website because I thought that's what I needed. turns out I did it myself because there were so many new things that it's hard for me to talk to someone else to do it, where I just spent so much time doing it myself and it ended up flowing perfectly. It helped a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Can you share a specific lesson or module or maybe a live call that we did together that really stood out for you, or something that you said, like, this one thing that you said, or this one thing that I've learned from the course, that's what was the one thing that's all I needed?
This is taking me back to when I was working as a personal trainer. I actually did a course from the company. And again, when I say from the company, you know, it's not the best quality, but it teaches you the very basics. So I remember them talking about, like, you know, you need to figure out who your ideal customer is and this and that. And I was like, yeah, you know, I've heard all this before.
Yeah.
So when you said the same thing, I was like, yeah, I've heard all this before. But then I think when we applied it, that's when it clicked. And I realized, like, I read over my website and I'm like, has nothing to do with kind of what my ideal customer would want and who I am as a photographer. So that was huge. That was at the very start of the course. So then instantly I knew I got something from the course. That was from module 2 even.
Yeah.
And I think the first 3 or 4 modules are like building the foundation of your business.
Yeah.
And if I thought I had it built. Turns out I didn't. And I had to rebuild. So I luckily had that time then to rebuild that. And as soon as I did that, my website looked better. 1, I started getting more inquiries. 2, and I slowly, again, through the process of the 2-3 months of the course and afterwards, increasing my prices because the volume was there. And that's another thing I think, when you're your own brand, it's a little bit harder to scale because you don't have 7,000 hours in a day. You only have 24, just like Beyonce.
Yeah.
But just like Beyonce, you're one of one.
Yeah.
So you can charge a lot more because people are going to be hiring you. They're not going to be hiring your camera because your camera can take a photo, but you're the one who's going to be taking that photo with them, editing. You're going to use that for sure. So yeah, I think even though it's harder to scale, and this is going back to that point about the personal brand being that face of the brand. Yeah. Even though it's harder to scale, you can charge a lot more for your time. Then you get more free time. You get more bang for your buck. You're not, you know, your time is being spent wisely when you're working. And you then start working with clients who value your time, but also appreciate you as a person. They tip well sometimes. You know, and all these things. And then you're like, well, you start becoming friends with your clients as opposed to constantly having problems with I hate to say it, but clients that are looking for cheaper services, you know, or trying to save money. You're getting clients that don't mind adding an extra thing or you know, whatever your price is, they're going to pay it. So, and it's just headaches are gone. You know? So
would you say that piece became easier for you right now? I remember one of the things, because of course, before doing this podcast episode, I also asked you, like, fill out a form, a feedback form. One of the things that you said that I really love is that right now, people are even booking you without even hopping on a call. Like, they connect with you by your personal brand, your social media content, your website.
They feel like they already know me.
There we go. So that became easier.
Yeah. And it's not just that it became easier in communication with the clients aspect. It's more, I have the confidence to back it up. So I don't need to over explain anything. Like now, and I'm talking more about regular photo shoots because I have yet to experience more of that in weddings. But because wedding is, you do need to know the person. Sometimes they do want to call.
Of course.
And I've only to this day booked one wedding where they didn't call me. That's coming up in 2 months.
Okay.
They didn't book a call. And I wanted to do the call not only to sell to them first, but also to upsell to them, to sell more services. Yeah. But they booked me and we will do a call before the day comes, obviously, to meet. But they were happy to send me, you know, and wedding photography is a well-paid business. So they were happy to send me that. And I'm getting now more confidence when I deal with my regular photo shoots, because I still do that. That's the bread and butter. Yeah. That when I do those photo shoots, if someone's asking a lot of questions, I say, first, I'll answer to kind of calm your nerves and I'll make you understand. And a lot of my website now is kind of FAQs, so I don't need to say too much. But if they're asking a lot of questions, I have the confidence to say, you can book, and then I can spend more time with you and answer more of your questions. Because if you don't book, I don't have that guaranteed. And that time is better spent anywhere else.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in the past that happened where I'd spend hours or, I think I have a thread of 24 emails with one of my clients.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
24 emails of just back and forth questions of them not being sure and not being this and not being certain. And from building my website and obviously a portfolio and confidence as well, I can just say now, like after 2-3 emails, I'm like, okay, I can give you all this information, but first I need you to book because otherwise I'm not certain that you're a client. You can just be someone shopping around.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's one piece of the course where I share email templates. Have you been using these?
I've been using the first few. So I found the first one is now the first kind of response to an inquiry. That's my standard now. And there were a lot that I read through actually to understand what would happen or how we should approach a scenario. Like if photos are like, if you lose all the photos of a client, what do you say? How do you communicate that? So maybe if I hadn't read the template, I would have maybe reached out to you or another photographer I know to kind of see what they did in that time.
Yeah.
But having the template, I instantly just read it and I was like, okay, this sounds good. It sounds professional. It's written well. And again, it's not like I have to sit there and write anything. I can just copy paste that into a response. And then, there's a few different templates like that. And then also follow-ups. But I use the first response very often because that's the first thing. And then from there, it kind of, sometimes I have to customize the reply.
Yeah. Of course.
But even through reading the first few emails, I can customize the reply with more knowledge on what is expected from the client and from me, my boundaries, that I'm not going to, that I'm not gonna suggest certain things or offer discounts or things like that. Like I think you use this a lot, the line that it's not fair to my past clients to give a discount.
Yeah.
And it's so true, and it instantly tells the person you're talking to, and it sets that boundary.
Yeah.
So, and you don't have to then over-explain, because over-explaining is, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
You're instantly going to be like, okay, I'm not confident enough. As soon as you say one line, and even in the call, I remember in our calls, I think me as well as maybe one or two other people asked for one-on-one time with you. And you use that line. It's not fair to people who are doing the masterclass that I spend one-on-one time with you, even though it would be great, but it's not fair to my clients who have asked for that specifically. Yeah. And instantly I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's boundaries.
So boundaries. So and in emails I used to over-explain a lot, and now I set the boundary. Listen, if you want me to, I can over-explain if I see the need to, and if I see the value in it, but usually I don't need to, because they know what to expect.
Let's talk about pricing. In module number 3, we talk about pricing, psychology of pricing strategy. We have the pricing calculator. We have different topics, like how you can upsell, different things that we can talk about. What would you say has changed or has helped you with your pricing piece from the course? Any specific things that you want to share?
Yes. So I think the two major takeaways from the course were, one, redesigning my business from the foundation. So knowing who I am, who I want to serve, and the ways I want to serve them. That was one big takeaway, the whole personal brand and the customer avatar. The second was pricing, for sure. So I wasn't sure how to price myself, the psychology of how a customer thinks about pricing. I have a history in sales, like a past experience in sales, but again, it was never kind of taught in black and white. So going through that, my first pricing guide, again, made in Canva, because we do that a lot. We make it all in Canva because we have to send the client. And it was extremely, like, I have it in my mind right now. It was extremely gaudy, too many pictures that not even wedding, like pictures of a beach or pictures of a sunset. Just to put some flavor into it, I thought. It started with, I don't think a picture of me was on the pricing guide at all. So it started with kind of a nice, like, I wanted it to be like a Vogue magazine cover for a front page. Second, and this is in portrait as well. Second page was pricing 3 options, 3 packages. And the packages, because I instantly thought packages means everything has to be included for a better price. So packages would be, number 1 was the cheapest one. It started at the cheapest. And then number 2 was the most popular. Number 3 was the most expensive. Again, at this point, starting off, you don't know what the regular booking hours of wedding photography are. So I think it was like 2, 5, and 8. Which are quite random numbers. So I just thought 3 hours in between sounds good. 8, I knew 2 was a minimum. I knew 8 was quite a good level to be at for like a very big wedding. And then I remember the package was including a lot of things. So 2 would include me plus this, plus that, plus that. 5 would include that plus one more thing. 8 would include that plus a sneak peek plus a this. Plus. So that all, then I figured out the pricing somehow. And that was it pretty much. There's nothing else to it. And then obviously when we started doing the psychology of the pricing and how to structure it, the calculator helped me to figure out kind of a ballpark figure that I wanted to be at. And instead of thinking about, how many hours I'm working, how much I should make per hour, it was more of what's my cost, because there are other things involved than just working per hour. There's cost of editing, there's cost of the assistant, having an assistant there, there's cost of certain maybe albums you're including, there's cost of gear and time, editing time and stuff like that. So instantly when you know your cost, you can then figure out how much profit you want to make. So that helped me to figure out a ballpark figure for 3 different packages. Then also we spoke about how you need to price anchor. So that was a big one, to have the largest package at the forefront of your pricing guide. So a customer instantly knows, oh, this guy's serious. And, I shouldn't play around. And then
all psychology, pricing psychology.
It is, it really is. And so to have that, so I changed my whole pricing guide. Now it starts off with my face. Actually, I think I have a cover photo. Then it goes to my face, who I am as a wedding photographer. Again, the elevator pitch. Then, and they should already know this by now anyway, but that's just there to remind them. And then it goes to my first pricing anchor or package anchor, which is the big of the big. Like it's for someone who money is no object. Their wedding is their biggest day of their life and they want to enjoy it. And they have multiple events. They want second photographer. They want drone. They want albums for everyone. So I'm going to include all that in a package for that special client and that dream client, I guess, that will pay that X amount, which is going to be your highest package. And then from there on, everything else seems cheap. So then I started, and as you explained to us, that it's better to have the top one is the most expensive, then work your way down.
Yeah.
And so then I have my my second, third, and fourth packages. Fourth being the cheapest or least expensive. And now also those second, third, and fourth don't have any other add-ons. It's just because what I found is a lot of the time that I would include extra things in a package that people technically may not want. So then my price of that package instantly is more than what it should be.
Yeah.
And they're not seeing that. They're just seeing the number. So,
and that's where you go back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, but I don't want this. How about we remove this?
Customized packages.
Exactly.
You have to do so. Better off to have the lowest price you can possibly give for that package in terms of your service, and then let them add from there. So I have that now set up. It looks a lot nicer. There's margins around the design. It looks more professional. And over this time that I've designed the package, I've also had more weddings. So I've been able to use photos, and even in weddings, I know before the wedding starts, I know what photo I need for a certain post or a certain this or a certain that. And I know how to take it. And the clients loved it, of course. They love that photo, but I know that I can use that for my portfolio, for my pricing guide. So I have a few staple photos that I use now for those, and that'll change over time. But pricing guide looks nicer. It's more easier to read, more cohesive. And then fonts as well are all set. It's not up and down, crazy left and right. It's just, this is my brand. It looks like my brand, just like, I don't know, just like Adidas has 3 stripes. It's, Jiten Studio, from reading the pricing guide, what the fonts are, what the colors are.
Yeah.
And then it ends with extra things I can offer the client. So if you don't want to book with me, great, but I still want to stay at the forefront of your mind. So I offer a freebie as like a wedding timeline guide, or let me think. Yeah, a checklist of like how you should do getting ready at your wedding. And that's all pretty much sent in the first email. That once the client reaches out, you get all that in your first email. So it's set from the get-go, and then they can book a call. The last slide is to book a call with me. So as soon as the pricing, and I already did this, is to share pricing since the first email, so that you don't waste your time on a call.
Yeah.
And
It's not like a surprise for them.
yes, it's not a surprise. And that's important to do, so you don't waste your time and they know what to expect.
Yeah. Have you increased your price from starting the course to now?
Yeah. So actually, I've done everything. I've increased, decreased, left, right, up, down.
Yeah.
But I have for sure, it's increased since the course.
Yeah.
During the course, it decreased for a bit. And I think I played it kind of by ear, just through how many inquiries I'm getting and this and that, how I feel about the pricing, the leads that are reaching out, what their reaction is to the pricing. But when I started showing my face more, my brand more, my website is higher quality, and I instantly got, and I remember telling you, I instantly got feedback on my website saying how professional it looks and everything. And that gives you more confidence, but also gives the client confidence that they know who they're buying and who they're paying into.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, my pricing has increased. And it still will increase, but it's increased to a very stable position now where I'm happy with what I'm earning for the work I'm doing. And you realize that all those hours spent in the office working on the website, working on the brand are going to pay off when people book you without even calling you, when people instantly want to, I get more inquiries, so equals eventually more bookings, hopefully. So yeah, it's increased and it'll continue increasing.
Awesome. And have you booked weddings with a new pricing?
Yeah, I think I booked 3 so far.
Nice.
With the new pricing, yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Amazing. Hey, Jiten, would you recommend this course to another photographer?
Yes. So photographers out there, wedding photographers out there. I would say, again, and I was in a position where I thought I knew the business side of it. And I thought I had it all kind of figured out. And that's also one of the setbacks I had to buying into the course. But then I went in with the mindset of, even if there's that 1% that helped me, that it would be worth it. And it was. And I think it helps you to understand who you are, who your client wants, or who you want your client to be, because there's people we don't want to work with. And there's people we do want to work with. So to be able to understand that, know that, and find those people, reach out to them. Also to understand your finances, and wedding photography is not like doing the actual photos and sending the photos. That's not it. I think a really nice addition to the course was the opportunities you have to upsell. So albums, engagement sessions beforehand. And there's so many ways to upsell weddings that you wouldn't think of otherwise. So I think one of the funny points that I kind of had an aha moment was to send them a discount code on their anniversary, because maybe they want to reprint a photo, or maybe they want to remind themselves of, or they haven't purchased an album yet and you want them to, obviously. So, and that could be a lot of money that you would have otherwise forgotten about. They would have forgotten about.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of things that maybe you think of, had I not done the course, I wouldn't have thought of, or maybe I would have known 2-3 years down the line, and that revenue wouldn't have been there otherwise.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of if anyone was in my shoe or is in my shoes when I started the course, it is a leap of faith, and it is, again, in that position, if you are starting out as a photographer, you would think you don't know that you're going to get the money back. Because you don't know what it's like, or what to expect. For example, you stop photography after a month or two of doing the course. You learn about business, one. And if it does kick off, it is going to kick off great. If you actually follow the course and do step by step and really look into your business from a bird's eye view, and like redesign, just like how I did, you will understand your business more, and yeah, it'll turn out great. And if you are already a stable and established photographer, I think it's still valuable because, again, you can reflect on your business, which you won't otherwise do because you'll be too busy working on it and kind of getting more bookings and constantly editing, constantly getting more bookings, that you won't realize that you can actually half the amount of work you do by increasing your prices, make the same amount of revenue, and get more free time, spend with your family, spend with your, your kids, whatever it is. So even if you are a stable photographer, and stable being the keyword, you can grow.
Yeah.
Like even if you think your business is set, and there's a lot of people that I know that have been doing it for years, and they are stable, and I realize that they are doing very similar things, even maybe not, because a lot of people don't post on social media. And there are so many opportunities out there to grow and to build a website, reach out to your clients, work with the best clients you can possibly imagine, work happier, smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Nice.
worth it for sure. Yeah.
Okay. One final question. There's someone right now that is sitting on the fence of joining the program. They're hesitant, and maybe it was you at the beginning that you were hesitant about joining the program for whatever the reason. What would you say to that version of you, that time that is hesitant, or to someone that is watching right now or listening to the podcast right now that is hesitant about joining the program? What would you tell them?
I would say the same thing that you told me, which I already knew, is that, the price you can make it back with one wedding. And after a 2-month course, as long as you do the basics and you stick to it, and you do what you're told, and you also see the value in it, you're gonna book a wedding without even trying. Like the person that booked me without doing the call, like I replied to her with one email, and I think she had one question, and I replied back, and then she's like, okay, how can we book? Okay, awesome. And that the course paid for itself.
Yeah.
I think I doubled the course. What I paid for in the course, it came back double. So
With one wedding.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. Awesome.
So yeah, simple, easy. But yeah, courses are always, I think, as long as you know the person who's doing the course, they have more experience than you do. And there are courses that are kind of BS. So there are people like that, but most of the courses you're going to learn something from them.
Yeah.
One small thing you'll learn, and,
Yeah.
and that's worth it.
Love it. Jiten, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for the course.
Of course. Thank you. And I want to give you the opportunity to also give a shout out to yourself. So let us know how we can connect with you. Maybe your Instagram, website. This is your chance to...
So yeah, my name is Jiten. My business is Jiten because people can't pronounce Jiten for some reason. So Jiten.studio, www.jiten.studio. I'll tag it here, right there. Or
We'll put it in the description.
Stephen will put
I'll put it in the description.
and I'm on Instagram, Jiten.studio. My website is there. And yeah, you can connect me with me there. That's it pretty much. Inquire there. You can follow me, my journey there. I'm going to start posting more travel stuff as well. But yeah, all my work is there. So, and I'll keep posting.
Awesome.
Never stops.
Perfect. Thank you, Jiten.
Thanks, Stephen.